Yeah. Anyways, let's get into Two Nights in Hoofington by Swashbucklers. A line of ponies plus a zebra couple and a mule had queued up before the Moffat Theater, shuffling in short lurches toward the ticket box. Casual conversation and one or two murmurs of actual excitement accentuated the warm evening air around the theater's facade. Their excitement came from the anticipation of a magic show and was taken up for another few notches by the stylishly decorated teaser posters on either side of the ticket box. With bold lettering to act as an attention grabber, some sparkles and fire to create a mesmerizing effect, and a superimposed side view of a mysterious blue mare gazing out of the poster with one half-lidded eye. The artfully composed ad proclaimed, "Watch in awe! Watch and be amazed! Witness the amazing magic of the great and powerful Trixie!"
Well, no surprise. But what is she doing in a theater?
Near the bottom was a mandatory sticker stating, "2 nights only," followed by a list of locations to which she would be touring. Brick, though. Hoofington had try that again. Hoofington had manian... God. Wording, why do you lead me?
Okay, take 3.
Hoofington had many an ornately garnished theater, but this one in particular was quite a bit smaller than the city's more renowned opera houses, and the district was just a little on the sordid side. It was one of those which welcomed small-time or out-of-town performers who didn't yet, or never would, attain the level of fame and praise that would elevate them to one of the grand, lavishly designed theaters with orchestra pits, versatile light setups, 3 or 4 levels of seating, and corridors graced with sculptures and paintings. Oh, unless you're talking about Anthro, Trixie.
Oh yeah, that'll be a hell of a show.
That was actually fine with tonight's performer, despite her higher aspirations. This may not be the ideal location for the type of glory she saw herself deserving, but every great or powerful pony had to start somewhere, and the achievement would hardly be worth much if she didn't earn it. So, downtown's Moffat Theater it was. Presently, the house manager was welcoming the attendees and thanking them for coming. "Oh, they don't need to be thanked," thought the smug mayor, waiting patiently behind the stage's red velvet curtain. "They'll soon see their admission was worth every bit." Well, as the house manager finally wrapped up his speech with an introduction of tonight's act, Trixie Lulamoon herself was feeling the excitement of another opportunity to display her magical prowess. Her eyes were wide and right above a tight smile, her respiration quickening, and her posture straight at attention, ready for anything. Before her nose, the curtain ruffled with movement. Her audience wouldn't be that grand, but be that as it may, there was no denying the perspiration-inducing fervor that he felt from the anticipation of charming and bedazzling a multitude. She felt a few beads pop on her coat.
Calm down, Trixie.
Keep your plot in check.
It'll all be over soon.
And here we go! Rising to her hind legs and presenting a beaming smile, the great and powerful Trixie drank in the sight of her soon-to-be fans as the curtains parted to reveal them to her. As soon as the velvet folds were clear, a pyrotechnics display with tinted sparks which matched her body's color scheme burst to life, accentuating her onstage appearance with silver and blue flames that sizzled furiously. It was quickly accompanied by a declamatory, but not too extravagant, fanfare. The music may have been canned, but she would have preferred some lightning flashes, but it was far better than what any common show pony would have been able to put together.
Huh.
Oh. Bless me.
Tissue.
Ugh. Nonetheless, she reveled in the attendance, letting her immature side seep in a little as she thought, "Yippee! So many ponies! Yes, this would be the result of booking a theater for my amazing shows."
So if she does deliver.
Booking theaters was a little more impersonal than rolling into a town, but the turnout was always bigger, and she couldn't argue with the acoustics an actual building offered. She was, after all, the great and powerful Trixie, the deservedly impressive mayor of the magical arts. "Fillies and gentle colts," she announced, voice echoing to all corners of the auditorium. "We all know what you've come for. However, the feats that the great and powerful Trixie is capable of tend to be more than most ponies can handle. So before tonight's show commences, Trixie earnestly requests that all ponies with children who are easily frightened and any pony with a severe heart condition make their departure at this time."
Well, it will be featuring fireworks, so yeah.
About 1.5 seconds of silence passed, then the atmosphere was broken, and her momentum halted when a heavy and abrasively boisterous voice shouted, "Does that mean we can go?"
Who?
Rude shout-out had come from what sounded like his senior pony, yet one who was full of obnoxious energy and therefore definitely not at risk of the heart failure that she had just cautioned them about. He had yelled from one of the balconies overhead on Trixie's left. From the same location, a similar voice, husky with age, added, "No, you dummy, we're not technically senior citizens yet."
What the hell?
Trixie tilted her head to see the two hunched and wrinkled old stallions glaring down at her with beady eyes. The first one finally responded to his partner, "We will be once the show's over."
Oh, come on! Well, it can't be that bad, can it?
Oh, you'll see. Both contemptuous ponies interrupted into spirited laughter and reached every corner of the auditorium. But that was only part of what made Trixie's face burn. A smattering of chuckles wafted up from her audience as well. "My audience, not theirs! How dare they interrupt? Aren't there rules against this?" She scowled up at them. "Oh, by the way, you might want to start guessing about who these two ponies are."
They're
Here's
all...
your hints. Here's your hints. One sported a trapezoidal face that was accentuated by a huge protruding chin, bristly gray eyebrows, and big gaping eyes that made him look comically menacing. The shorter one with the buskier, wheezier voice had a round head, a bushy white mustache, and saggy eyelids that gave him a constant lazy squint. Still don't get it?
Hang on.
Hang on, maybe this will clue you in.
Well,
The chin and eyebrows
actually, there's a little problem going on.
What? What's going on?
Chat went a little crazy.
Just calm yourself.
Okay, I wasn't paying attention to those first particular little descriptions.
Maybe this, besides the appearance, maybe this will clue you in. The chin and eyebrows pony said, "Hey, Staldorf, looks like we made her angry. You think she'll storm out the stage?"
Wait, who?
Staldorf.
Don't know.
Watch Muppets, you people. This is the two elderly critics from the Muppets.
What?
Yes, the two critics from the Muppets, Staldorf and what's-his-name, in pony form, in Trixie show.
Son of a bitch!
Yup.
This is going to be terrible.
The shorter, wheezy voice would reply with this, "We're not that lucky." Their heads bobbed and their hooves thumbed the banister as they chortled away at her expense.
Something tells me that security will need to clear those.
Trixie was certain she could have them thrown out, but that would mean bringing everything to a halt before her act had even started. More importantly, the assemblage just actually seemed to be enjoying their geriatric antics. If there was one thing that took higher priority than her own dignity, it was making certain her audience had a memorable experience to take home. Losing one's composure in the middle of a performance was simply the mark of an amateur. "Very well, then. If the crowd is on their side to any extent, I'll simply have to tolerate them. I'm not gonna love it, though."
You just got a little quiet. Hang on.
What?
Oh, sorry. You got a little quiet and I couldn't even hear her.
"No early departures?" she continued as if nothing had occurred. "In that case, let the show begin!" Again, one of the stallions loudly asked, "It's only beginning? We already feel like we've been here for hours!"
Somebody shoot them.
They burst into more nettlesome guffawing, stirring up a few more laughs from the seating. The great and powerful Trixie bit down on her smoldering temper and pressed on by rapidly assembling a tall rectangular box in the center of the stage. She had learned the best way to proceed was to begin with something impressive, and to continue wowing the crowd with variety and surprises, rather than trying to top every trick with increasingly bombastic ones, now that she couldn't have pulled it off very well. Well, at least she's learned from Boast Busters.
Alright, now what happens?
The old stallions were blessedly quiet now, though she could have sworn that as soon as she stepped into her vanishing box, one yelled, "Quick, lock the door!"
Let's just see what happens.
When the box collapsed and she reappeared in a flash of sparks and smoke, she was welcomed back with applause that also happened to be underscored by high-volume snores that nearly overwhelmed the clopping.
Dirty minds! Dirty minds!
Yes. She seeked to glance up at the balcony to see the stallions' heads were drooped and were rising and falling as they slept through her show.
They fell asleep?
Yeah. Oh, whatever. At least they won't be able to harass me anymore. I guess I should be glad they're geezers. They'd probably fall asleep at a racetrack. She was content with this frame of mind for a maximum of 3 seconds.
Damn it!
Why can't they be quiet when they snore? Pointed low, she gathered up the fog that was rolling across the stage floor and made it rise up from where the vanishing box had fallen. The effect was similar to watching a ghost rise from its grave. With no small amount of concentration, she shaped it into a featureless imitation of herself. Whispers of awe and admiration drifted up from the ponies gathered behind her. She lifted her hat and cloak from her own body. Reaching into the hat with one foreleg, she retrieved a bouquet of roses before the articles of clothing floated across the stage and settled on Fog Trixie's insubstantial body. Just then, her ears twitched. They were picking up the sounds of wake-up snorting and murmuring, punctuated by an exaggerated yawn. Her facial muscles tensed as she looked up to see the two old stallions peering over the balustrade at her. Oh, great, Salad, now there's 2 of her! As if this couldn't get any worse!
I bet by the end of this fic, she snap and tell him to get the fuck out, or she'll strangle them. And she will probably go and do it her damn self.
Trixie's suave movements belied the venomous glare that she aimed at them as she gracefully handed the bouquet to her foggy twin while straining to maintain the mist puppet's shape. They bowed to one another and executed the first few steps of an elegant dance that was well practiced in Hoofington. It paid to research the culture and history of every stop. The audience appreciated the nod to its heritage, and the show pony in turn was gratified. The dance ended with Fog Trixie galloping away from the real one and all about the stage, then racing back toward her to disperse into misty fingers, allowing the hat and cloak to fall back into place with a whooshing sound effect.
I think I hear sounds from your Steam.
Yeah, that's because my mic is picking up my laptop speakers, or this laptop speakers at least.
I see.
Cupping his mouth, this part of her act, topped off with a graceful pose and an award-winning smile, was met with heavy praise from all over the auditorium. Music to the magician's ears until someone shouted over it. Cupping his mouth between his hooves, Sadler shouted, "Hey, Magic Lady! When you saw yourself in half, make sure you keep rigid, not lax! Yeah! Don't even get us started on how much the show lacks!"
I give her 3 minutes. Tops.
Magic Lady ground her teeth and held back a snarl, but continued without losing face. Yet. A few dust-sized particles had been lost in the enamel of her pearly whites while grinding them, but she smiled anyway, and lit her horn, making the bouquet of flowers from her fog trick reappear in the air before her. A dose of magic, followed by a burst of flame, and the bouquet exploded into a fluttering shower of crimson petals. Her magical aura guided them into a variety of images that are rearranged every 3 seconds to give every pony time to enjoy the creative shapes without losing interest. Then the petals themselves burst into sparks. Naturally, another rude direction soon followed. Sadler suggested boisterously, "Next time you make sure you use the white lilies." Staldorf nudged his companion and agreed, "They'd be more appropriate for this show."
Anytime, Trixie.
Trixie narrowed her eyes and grimaced at the way them as they laughed, their heads bobbing up and down like chickens. One more interruption, just one flipping more, and I'll... Every pony who's seen magicians pull items out of their hats, she stated primely. But how many have you seen who managed to make 6 quarts of water appear out of thin, empty air? A few expectant murmurs traveled about before they were summed out by, why don't you make some vodka appear out of thin air? Yeah, we could certainly use it.
She's gonna kill him now. I could tell.
Trixie screamed in her head, shut up, shut up, shut up!
I wish it would have been real.
Distraction notwithstanding, she managed to pull the trick off, conjuring the water and making it and staking it through the air around her, then out over the audience as though it were a serpent made of liquid. As a finale, she cast it away, causing a light spray of inoffensive droplets to lightly drizzle her admirers. There were some grins and chuckling. Try that in Trottingham or Counterlot, and the reaction wouldn't be so nice. Try it with children of any region, and they loved it.
But...
The pony named Sadler said to his partner, hey, I actually like that trick. You did? Yeah, it was shorter than the rest.
This is just the beginning act, fuck!
This time, unfortunately, their guffawing and banister thumping was too much for Trixie to take in silence. The few laughs they got from her audience hardly seemed to matter anymore. Oh, that is it!
She's gonna kill him!
Her audience quieted down, focused now on her outburst. Aiming her slitted eyes up at the two elderly morons, she snapped. Listen up, you two! The great and powerful Trixie and these very patient ponies who, Trixie might add, paid for their admission are getting sick and tired of your interruptions. We would all be grateful if you put a stop to this unpleasant and embarrassing nonsense!
And what did they say?
That's what we've been trying to do!
It's gonna be bloody. It's
They
gonna be
paid
really
for
bloody.
their admission, did they? We're all paying for it now! Trixie detected a waning enthusiasm from the crowd, even 1 or 2 frowns. Oh, sweet Celestia, you slipped in making me every pony uncomfortable. Didn't I promise myself never to be this unprofessional again?
It's hard to be professional when you got 2 lunatics up there who's mocking you in every fucking direction.
But defeat's equated to suicide. She would have to soldier onward and salvage her act, and if that wasn't feasible, tie it up in as satisfactory a manner as she could. Very well, she declared proudly but calmly, ready to build up from her blunder. Stepping back into her flair and panache persona, she announced, if you won't be silent, then Trixie shall silence all of you with a demonstration of sheer power. Prepare yourselves for the most dazzling magic trick ever witnessed by pony eyes. It can't be better than the trick that got us here. Yeah, we got tricked into coming. Duh!
Shut up! You're getting more and more annoying!
Her annoyance flared up again, but she channeled it this time into her latest spell. The result, though, was that her aggression showed through. Behind her, fireworks ignited and set off with a clamor of banging, whooshing, and sizzling, creating a brilliant wall of flames that turned the stage into a bursting nebula in fiery cloud colors. Under her quick-witted magical guidance, the entire tapestry of sparkling rockets changed course and swirled up toward the roof of the theater like a kaleidoscope of fire. Some of them may have swooped a little close to the right side balcony, but surely that was just a trick of the light. Oh, really?
I told you she's gonna kill him!
Seconds later, with a fresh surge of magic from Trixie's horn, another wave of fireworks sprang forth. These ones, trailing silver, lavender, and powder blue contrails, until the once dim ceiling was awash in a storm of scintillating color. Trixie doubled her concentration and produced a framework of neon lines, bringing the controlled chaos to order within them as if she were filling up a giant coloring book. At last an image took shape, Trixie's beaming face, sparkling like crazy, surrounded by a wreath of fire.
A self-portrait. Damn it, you got me doing it, you fucking bastards!
The seated ponies were definitely amazed by the passionate display, but she was still putting more anger into it than she would have liked. Nonetheless, she kept it up for as long as her text line could sustain the quarreling and burning of the fireworks. When the spectacle at last dispersed to unveil the cool, shadowy ceiling, Trixie rose again and ta-da! The applause came, just as she knew it would, but she suspected they would have leave tonight, feeling her show had been a little more mean-spirited than she wanted them to. And I know exactly who to blame! At least it's over with, and those two numbskulls can finally shut up. No act, nothing to insult.
And something tells me insult in 3, 2, 1.
Staldorf murmured, "Wow. You know, Sadler, I feel really bad about making fun of her now." "Yeah, me too."
Well,
Trixie looked up at them. Had they actually been humbled by her astonishing finish?
let's continue.
Just when we thought this whole show was going to be terrible, the little lady did something wonderful. Yep. She ended it!
I knew it!
And within the next split second, they relapsed into slapping each other's shoulders, thumping the banister with unrestrained mirth, and bobbing their heads while they guffawed like a couple of children. I thought our act was going to go up in smoke! And you see, it did!
It's... Uh-oh. Somebody's gonna get murdered.
At this point, a careful observer would notice that there were actual visible trails of thin smoke coming from Trixie's flared nostrils.
And... cue the violence.
Are you sure she smoked? Because I'd say she looks pretty steamed.
Come on, Trixie. Put it up. Put them out of our misery. Now!
Back in her dressing room, well, that was spoiled.
What, that was... Damn it! You ruined my expectations! Fuck you!
Trixie Lulamoon angrily replayed the evening's events in her head while she marched back and forth with the zest of a caged bobcat that had a crab clutching its rear end.
Ugh.
Of all the theaters I had to perform in, why did I have to wind up in the one where there are two geriatric dipsticks with the audacity, not to mention the lack of taste, to mock me when I'm trying to do a show? How is it even possible for anyone to be that insufferable?
Is there somebody who's going to answer that?
To vent, she snatched a pillow with her teeth and tore the poor thing to shreds by violently thrashing her head all about, being sure to make the appropriate snarling noises, until its puffy white guts fluttered all around her. She tried to imagine it crying, "No!" But in her mind it just evolved to, "No!"
Somebody's going to get murdered.
She sat it out. "Feathers in my teeth. Just great. At least this time it's my own fault." She strolled over to the mirror at the dressing table and stretched her mouth open as wide as possible to pluck the remains of her fluffy prey from beneath her teeth. With dignity, of course.
Well...
How could they just sit up there and make fun of me? All I'm trying to do is put on a show and make sure every pony's time and bits are well spent. Even if my on-stage persona is kind of flashy, which it totally deserves to be, considering how fantastic I am, that's hardly an excuse to yell about how much they hate it so much every single pony can hear them! Elsewhere in Equestria, a chill ran down the spines of 3 ponies and a baby dragon.
Did you just feel that, Why? I did, did you? Man, I think it must be getting cold. Let's go.
I may be a tiny bit of an egotist, but those geezers were complete and total jerks! Oh, for the days when I was just a little filly and could just throw stuff at the mean kids. Oh, not again!
Not this time!
Okay. I got this. Somewhat.
Let's just hurry up and get it over with.
I need a drink. A pub that resided a few blocks away had been recommended to her. It was summer, so she abandoned her flashy garments before heading out. The warm evening breeze felt refreshing against her exposed coat as she made her way through Hoofington's downtown district. Finding the pub and entering, Trixie recognized Scooter, the Moffat Theater's executive director. He spotted her as well, and they sat down together. "I like your performance tonight," Scooter complimented as she took a seat and surveyed her surroundings. She decided the place was a decent and returned her attention to her company. He was an orange-coated earth pony with a darker vermilion vein and round glasses. By the way, another Muppets reference there.
Uh-huh.
The fact that it's called the Moffat Theater should also be another tip-off.
Let's just go on with it, because it's already going south.
"Thanks. If only every pony else agreed," she replied sourly. "Just who are those two elderly fellows in the balcony?" "Oh, every pony knows them," he answered, tossing a careless hoof. "They're friends of the ponies. Oh, sorry, people. Not all of them are ponies."
What?
"Who own the theater. They attend performances now and then. To shout insults down at that said performance isn't the point where they ruin one's act?" Trixie asked with a flat glare and barely any inflection in her voice. Scooter shrugged. "Well, like I said, every pony knows them. The locals are just used to their jokes, and we've never had anyone escalate the issue. They're just, there."
Trixie's gonna fucking murder them.
"Guess they're not so bad," Trixie responded. Inside, however, she was thinking, how does one put up with that heckling? I want my audience to be astounded or at least entertained, but those jokers keep distracting them and turning it into a comedy act. And since they got laughs, every pony's on their side, asking for them to be kept out is out of the question, so I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Go ahead. Just go ahead and boot him out. You're already a fucking joke, Trixie.
"Have you ever been to a show they actually liked?" she asked aloud. Scooter rolled his eyes with a smirk. "Nope, and that's just who they are." Trixie sighed and mulled things over, vowing to start actually talking to Scooter as soon as she was finished with working these thoughts out of her head. I certainly won't shut them up with spectacular feats of magic. I would need a plan of action that's more subtle, more devious, more... An idea occurred to her just as she was about to take another sip. A subtle idea. A subtle, devious idea.
She blow him up?
Don't even bother trying to astonish them. Do something they won't see coming. I'll just wait until they started insulting me and... "Something on your mind?" Scooter asked with a polite smile. "Yes, sorry. Trixie was just thinking of what she's going to do tomorrow." "No! Better idea! I'll set things up so they won't ever make it to that balcony to mock me. After all, accidents happen every day."
She's gonna fucking kill them. I swear. $5 says it is.
Curtains parted on the great and powerful Trixie's second night performing in Hoofington. Everything kicked off as it had before, with fireworks erupting, ponies clopping for her.
Dirty, dirty, dirty inverted shadow. Naughty, naughty boy.
The crowd was about the same size as before. "Looks like I might not have to put up with them tonight." She dove into her arsenal of tricks, dazzling and surprising the new crowd while expecting every minute to be interrupted by a snappy remark. Some of the ponies in the seating were anticipating the same. There were a few who kept glancing up at the balcony. "Jerks," Trixie thought, slightly embittered toward them as she finished off an illusion. Did they come to see me or a couple of prune-faced jokers? Well, joke's on them because those geezers are... "Hey, sorry we're late! Felt like giving you a head start."
And the misery begins.
Leaning out from behind his partner, Staldorf added, "We also wanted to give you a chance to break a leg." "Bigger jerks!"
Well...
Drat. Obviously, the chewing gum I carpeted the floor with didn't do its job. Maybe if I chewed faster, the whole thing would have stayed wet longer.
Well... Damn. What's next, Trixie?
Either way, Trixie was prepared for the interruption this time. "What a coincidence!" she called up with an air of nonchalance. "I was wondering if you two had broken your hips on the way here." Some mild tittering from the audience. For her, about time. But the elderly hecklers weren't about to be outdone. So, gee, that joke sure made us LOL.
What?
Laugh out loud? No, lose our lunch.
What's next, Trixie?
The great and powerful Trixie has another suggestion. How about look out, losers?
What?
She lit her horn and brought a huge globule of water into existence above the two ponies' heads. Just as they looked up, she dropped it on them, splashing against their upturned faces and soaking them clear through their suits.
Ooh, that's gotta hurt? I don't know.
The geriatric jokers gave down on themselves in their dripping attire for a few seconds. "We're soaked!" Saldorf exclaimed in disbelief. "We're drenched! We're all wet!"
Well, no shit, Sherlock!
Yeah, you better be able to take it as well as you can dish it out. Trixie simpered, knowing in her audience. Now that the peanut gallery has been put into its place, the great and powerful Trixie would be honored to show her lovely admirers the tricky art of mist manipulation. Oh boy, not this again, Staldorf moaned. Somebody had the usher throw her out. She can't! She's too busy keeping ponies in! The show mayor decided to bring up a good point. Trixie can't help but notice that no pony's keeping you in.
What?
Oh. Hey lady, there's a reason we have this balcony reserved. Trixie raised an inquisitive eyebrow. And what reason might that be? So we can jump anytime we want!
And then that shit. This is starting to get old and repetitive. I'm getting more fucking annoyed than Trixie. Is there a fucking end to this?
Yes. Trixie addressed her audience with mock urgency. Quick! Somebody put a glass of water under them! She earned a few mild chuckles from that, even though the joke was hardly deserving. Cartoon physics jokes were overrated anyway.
Yeah.
Trixie, actually, you two can go ahead and jump. Trixie has an audience reserved for you as well. Whew.
Oh dear.
Trixie had been forced to put up with insults before, but never to the extent of changing her act from a magic show to a stand-up comedy routine. The most important part was making sure it was balanced with the magical side of her performance, but she still found the experience of conjuring up the off-cuff remarks to be more fun than she would have given it credit for. Although she wouldn't admit it, she wasn't as good as this type of meddling as the two elderly stallions. To convince herself otherwise, she would punctuate her insults with offensive attacks. She even materialized some pies to throw at them, which they ducked, and so the night proceeded. At last the grand send-off. It ended as it had the night before, but with less fury and more precision. Over 100 ponies had their heads tilted skyward to witness their own scintillating visage being burned into their retinas. Trixie stood in the spotlight, center stage, perspiring a little and feeling great. Her much-deserved ovation died down enough to hear some last-minute critique from those whom she could call, now, the most responsive spectators she'd ever had. Boo! Get off the stage! You're terrible! Somebody throw a tomato!
That's kind of old, too.
Sighing, Trixie dropped back to all four hooves and pretended to be contemplating their razzing. It seems there remain a few Try that again.
Don't do it. It'll strain.
It seems we have a few more naysayers in my otherwise beloved audience. Well, if that is to be the case, the great and powerful Trixie has no choice but to repeat each and every stunning act you've all just witnessed with renewed energy and pizzazz.
I doubt that's gonna fucking work.
Well, they all responded positively, so I've proven it yet again. The great and powerful Trixie can upstage any pony, no matter what their special talent may be.
Their special talent is to make mockery of others.
At the end of every theater performance, Trixie enjoyed indulging in the spectators' appreciation on a more personal level by mingling with them as they passed through the lobby. She shook hooves, accepted praise, and chatted pleasantly with every pony she met.
And then comes those two fucks.
She hoped not to see the two geriatric hecklers ever again, and therefore experienced a moment of consternation when she saw them doddering toward one of the exits. She wondered for a moment if it would be best to ignore them, but then remembered there was always more to a pony beneath the surface. Perhaps
I
they
doubt.
didn't to be jerks by putting up a facade, just like she did up on stage. She walked up and politely summoned their attention with a gentle cough. They turned. Now, let's all be honest with ourselves, she said as the two elderly ponies stared back at her. It's clear you enjoy your put-downs and insults as much as I enjoy performing, otherwise you wouldn't have shown up 2 nights in a row. But it should be obvious that the great and powerful Trixie has put a high level of consideration, practice, and effort into what she does, and surely it must show.
And the insult?
The two stallions slowly exchanged glances. A decision seemed to pass just between them before they nodded in agreement. Yeah, I can see that, said Saldorf with just a hint of what may have been sarcasm.
I knew something was about to happen.
Trixie ignored it and brought a hoof to her chest without smiling. Trixie was taught early on to respect and draw wisdom from her elders. She leaned in secretively and then mirrored her movements. So, gentlemen, please tell me, just among the 3 of us, what was your personal, sincere opinion on the quality of my performance these 2 past nights? She raised her eyebrows and gave him a hopeful smile.
It's gonna be an insult. I just know it.
I guess I'd have to say, pondered Stalldorf, stroking his chin. Sadler gave her an honest bump on the shoulder. What a fantastic show! Stalldorf said with a sad shake of his head, it was a horrible travesty. The magician's brow went rigid again. The old stallions paused at their reaction and then continued. You were pretty good. There was nothing to like about it. I could use some work, though. Although in hindsight, you weren't half bad. It's pretty lousy now that I think about it. I actually liked it. It was disgusting. You're wonderful.
Are they arguing amongst themselves?
Yes.
Shit.
Trixie's face remained frozen in time. As the two stared at her with their expectant, beady eyes, she reached a conclusion. Some ponies are just born to be trolls.
Yep.
Deciding that she had put up with more than her fair share of shenanigans, her expression flattened out into a stern glare. She swished between the two and marched into the night with grim determination. Trixie needs another drink. As she left the lobby lights behind in favor of the Hoofington nightlife, her ears caught the very last of what she would ever hear from the two geezers. Let's imagine how we feel!
Can I kill them now? They ain't gonna be missed.
Next morning, Trixie packed up her collapsible stage wagon and strapped on her harness with a sense of relief before heading out on Hoofington. She magicked the map to her nose and consulted it as the shade of the ever-free forest fell over her. What a wonderful life I would have if I were never forced to deal with any more nincompoops like those two. I'm so tired. It was at these times like these, the night after an exuberant performance, that she felt the need to relax with a more self-serving show in which she could throw her weight around and give herself a cheap but gratifying ego boost at some pony else's expense. She felt especially deserving of one this time. The omnipresent problem was finding an audience that would accept having their inferiority thrown in their faces, as Trixie would like to think of it when she was in a bad mood, while being entertained. Trollen certainly didn't count. Luckily, there appeared to be a small town ahead that would fit the bill. Ponyville. Small place, middle of nowhere, hideously unimaginative name. Sounds just like the kind of isolated, underdeveloped, easily amused little town that would be totally blown away by some simple tricks and maybe even a nice Trixie-centric tall tale. I'll bet myself 10 bits nothing ever happens there.
I have no idea.
Setting up the events of Boast Busters, are we?
Oh, shit.
A small grin erased her features. No doubt it's also filled with talentless schmucks I can show up without lifting a hoof.
You have no idea.
She folded the map and tucked it into her saddlebags, now proceeding through the forest with her chin held a little higher and their hooves carrying her along at a brisk trot. And if there are any more ponies who decide it's okay to downplay my show while every pony else is trying to enjoy it, I'll know just how to deal with them. Besides, she thought, recalling the final barrage of insults before she strutted out of the mob at the theater lobby, the world needs to be reminded that, within reason, I can do anything better than anyone. The end.
Oh, so that's the reason why Trixie was a bitch.
Yes.
Still no excuse.
Oh, that was a night in 2 nights in Hoofington.
Yeah. And that's the last of the fanfics that we're going to take a look at for tonight.
Yeah.